What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Your Ex-Drinking Buddy. My name is Brennan Tassif. I'll be your host. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch-store. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll put the shorts up there, the full video, the whole thing. Thank you so much for listening. I love it. I hope you love it. Subscribe on Patreon, too. We do bonus episodes. I do Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on and whether they're assholes or not, which is super fun. Also, we do a pre-show banter for my other show, Cheers from the Press Box with Joe Dorville. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on over there, too. Make sure you just subscribe everywhere, just all over the place. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're not leaving the mean comments, thank you for that. Maybe leave a couple nice ones.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Richie Redding.
Whoa. Big energy
What's
intro.
up, dude?
As you were doing that, it made me realize this guy's a problem. If you're
When I fall off.
if you're on one, you're a tank.
Yeah, I am a pretty big
Yeah.
dude.
I can only cause so much trouble to my surroundings.
Well, it used
you
to
know?
be, I don't know if you ever were this person, but I used to be the guy where I'd go out with smaller dudes and they'd all get hammered and then they would start fights because then they would be like, Brennan, come take care of this problem for me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
No.
I don't,
Well,
what?
yeah. I mean, what smaller dudes can I go out with?
But I'm saying, like, you would have
Right.
been that guy, been like,
Well, no, I mean, I would say so. I was the coxswain for the rowing team,
Okay.
the little guy that
the
steers
front,
boats, and so like I was the smallest kid in school, and my 8 teammates were some of the biggest.
Human
So
beings.
I wouldn't start shit, but it definitely gave me permission to talk shit.
yeah. Where you could be like, hey,
Yeah.
before we get too far in anything, plug everything up front, let everybody know where they can find you, social media, the whole deal.
Yeah, everything is Richie Does Comedy, and by the time this comes out, richieredding.com should be completely online refurbished. You can check out me, my dates, and my consulting business, but that's a whole other podcast.
Okay, there we go. Beautiful, man. I wanted to have you on. You don't drink anymore.
Yeah, hung them up.
Yeah.
Hung up the shoes.
You and I both. Let's get into it before we get, because you sent me a bunch of stories. And just for everyone listening, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode just because the subway sucks in the city.
I deeply resent the W train.
Yes,
Right now. Yes.
every day. It's so funny because when you walked in, Tracy and I were talking about it, and I was just like, dude, I'm so sorry about the trains. It's just like today of all days. And she goes, Brennan, it's every day. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm basically one big pit stain right now.
It's-
So.
It was so bad. They just stopped moving. They literally just shut them down.
Yeah.
But I always ask my guests this. How did you find stand-up? Because stand-up itself is a niche thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always interested how somebody finds it. Because, like, this is the example I always give. I have guests in the restaurant, and they'll be like, oh, I love comedy. And I'll be like, oh, who's your favorite comic? And then they're like, Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy. And I'm like, okay, well, you might love comedy, but those are like, everybody knows those names. So
Yeah.
for someone to get into it,
Oh, so, okay, I see what
it's
you're
kind,
saying.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like a
So
thing.
when I was a kid, like when I was sick, there was, and you could get any movies at the video store. I would always get like Carlin and Pryor and Eddie Murphy and shit. But
was that something your parents introduced you to, or you just kind of found it, or?
Yeah, I just kind of, I guess HBO was probably like what turned me onto it. But then when I really got kind of saturated in it was I was an exchange student in Japan. After my freshman year
I learned so much about you every
in
time we
high
hang
school,
out.
yeah. And
Every time we hang out, I'm like, wait, what?
yeah, so my family hosted an exchange student, and then 2 years later, I went and lived with her family in Japan. And there was zero English content whatsoever. There was like one cartoon called Shin-chan that I could watch that was like Japanese Bart Simpson, but he's constantly showing his dick.
Okay.
And,
Classic comedy.
Real scamp, that one. And there's an American guy there, and he gave me a bunch of tapes to Billy Connolly.
Okay.
Who's kind of like the fifth Beatle of Monty Python.
Yeah.
So I really wore out those tapes while I was there, and like kind of like mastered his cadence and all that stuff, and like, you know, I could tell these 20-minute long stories along with him. So that was when I first like really connected with it as something that I wanted to do.
And then how old were you? What were you doing when you got on stage for the first time?
I was a 23-year-old cokehead that just got fired from a job at...
So this is like 8 years later. So you watched those tapes and stuff when you were in high school, when you were doing the exchange program. And then probably 5, 7, 8 years later, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, 9 or 10 probably.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so... But then also like... So being a coxswain and being in the boat, you've got a microphone, right? So... I'm on a mic for 2.5 hours a day.
That's awesome.
At practices.
Yeah.
You know, most of the time you got to be serious, but then like there's also plenty of time to fuck around and just like
2.5 hours is a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours. So,
Yeah.
so I could joke around with the boys. So
Hey, you in the back? Where are you from?
yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, serious shit talk. There's actually a very funny time that U.S. like I was like high ranked as a coxswain at when I was in college. U.S. rowing, they had like heard about me, you know, that like, that I was like great at motivating and stuff like that, and they're like, hey, can we listen to like we record your race because we might want you to do a workshop for like young coxswains. And
Damn, that's actually like kind of a big thing.
So
the U.S. national team reached out.
Well, I was on the junior national team, and I was like in the camp system for a few years, trying out for it.
Yeah.
But so watch these two stodgy old like officials listening to a tape where we raced Harvard. Like you can hear, like I can hear the F-bombs coming from it.
That's hilarious.
Break your fucking dick. And see these guys like, holy shit. They just kind of like,
maybe not a workshop.
They're like, this isn't what we're looking for.
Did you do it? You did it all the way through college?
And after, yeah.
Okay, so where did you go to college for that?
Not for that,
but you know what I mean. Like, were you recruited to go?
Yeah, I wasn't getting in anywhere. Without that.
God. So then, what happened with you? And you said you got fired. You were on a coke binge. Like, what happened to go from junior nationals to trying to be on the Olympic team, basically, to not that?
Yeah, I mean, that was like letting go of that was a big part of like an identity crisis kind of.
Yeah, I went through the same thing with football. Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably it didn't keep me sober for the 10 years that I was in it, but it kept some guardrails on me. So then when that was over and I had no identity as that guy, like I kind of like started to come untethered, and that was when other drugs and shit came in. And
well, I wonder if you can relate to this, because I tell people this all the time. When I left football, because I was so entrenched in I play football, and especially in the South where I'm from, and you are not, that I have learned. For those of you listening, I thought Richie was from the South like my entire time I've known you. I thought you were from Georgia with Michael Rowland and Max Fine, and I kept saying that like a couple weeks ago when we were hanging out, and you're like, dude, I'm from Philly. And I was like, oh, God, I'm such an asshole.
Well, the mullet is Dixie coated.
I know. It's like, but yeah, so like when I left football, and this is what I say all the time, is to be an athlete at that level, like junior national team, like I played Division I football in the South, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of addictive wiring. Like you have to be like, this is all I care about. This is my life. Like wake up in the morning, do workouts, then go to class, then workouts again, then go to class, then go to practice, then workouts again. Like you have to be a little crazy. So I always say when I left football, I was like, well, I just dumped all that energy into drinking and drugs because I was like,
right, without realizing it.
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly, 100%. Because I was just like, well, I have all this free time now.
Yeah,
I got to be doing something.
This intensity has to go into something,
and I just dumped it into partying. I should have dumped it into school. Now that I'm thinking about it, but I just went right into like, let's do it.
On that note of intensity, that one of the boats I had. I think we had 4 world champions in the boat and a combined like 9 world medals.
Jeez.
And gold medals.
That's insane.
Yeah, so we had the lightweight world record holder and also the heavyweight world record holder in the same boat. And the heavyweight guy, I saw him, like I kind of like espied a conversation that he had with the head coach, and he's like, "Coach, I broke the college record last year, and I want to break the open world record this year. What should I do?" He's like, "Well, whatever we do for practice, how about you spend an extra hour on the day, or an extra hour on the erg every day?" He goes, "I already do that." He goes, "Well, then spend 2 hours." And he went, "Okay." So
yeah.
So we would get there at 7 in the morning, and he'd be in a puddle on the machine, and he'd been on it for 2, and it would say, coming up on his 120th minute.
That's insane.
Of a torture machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's but to your point, that's the kind of intensity where it's like, this is what we do.
Yeah, that's the Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. The Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
And it is an interesting thing because a lot of people I've had on this podcast, because not everyone who comes on the podcast is sober. It's just that the fact that I'm sober is why it's called X Drinking Buddy. But I have talked to a lot of people who are sober, and that is a common thread where it's like, no, I did this thing that was really, really hard, and then I stopped doing that thing, and I kind of pivoted into whatever else it was. Because comedy, I think, has a lot of parallels, too, because it's constantly like, as to being an athlete, where it's like, you're always getting rejected, you have to practice constantly, you lose a lot more than you win until you get really good at it. And I think there are parallels to that where it's like, no, sometimes I like going up and bombing. Like, I don't like it, but it does give me that mentality of like, where most people are like, fuck this, I'm never doing this again. I'm like, oh, I have to work harder so that never happens again. Which is like a different kind of mind. How many people do we know that quit because they're like, oh, I didn't like that, and we're like, oh, I love it.
Well, kudos on tiptoeing up to the boxing metaphor that I despise and then backing away from.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot like boxing. It's just you up there. Yeah, nobody's punching you in the face.
I would never relate it to boxing. I only mean it in sports.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
The grand metaphor of sports, because like you lose, and then there are people. There was a great commercial that ran in the last Olympics, and it's like the whole. I like live my life by. I had lived my life by it, and then Nike turned it into a commercial where literally the commercial is just people doing really hard shit, and he goes, "Winning's not for everyone." And I was like, oh, that's so true, because the reason I got out of personal training was because people were like, you're mean, or this is hard. And I'm like, I can't fucking do this. Like, what do you mean it's supposed to be hard?
I eat pieces of shit like you. It's just some mom.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, though.
Yeah. I mean, so, and I'm very grateful that I had that work ethic instilled in me, and the first couple times that I did comedy, I ate shit, but the thing that I thought every time was that it's not as bad as losing a race, because when you lose a race, you got to walk over to the guy, take your shirt off your back, and give it to him.
Oh, really? Is that like a thing?
In college.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like,
it's like they have like skins on the wall.
Yeah. So it's like,
oh, that is rough.
Yeah,
man.
it's like, well, I might have gotten stared at by like a dozen black people, but
it's not nearly as bad as taking my shirt off.
Got
and
my
like,
tits covered.
You beat me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So when you decided to get into comedy, were you in Philly at the time when you decided? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what was it? Was it just an open mic? Was it an
open mic at the Laugh House?
Okay.
That's
all right.
It was. Yeah.
God, that's awesome, man. So then after that, you said you bombed the first couple times. What was it where you go, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, the best advice anybody gave me was this guy, Rocco Stowe.
Shout out Rocco Stowe.
Shout out Rocco, still in the game. When I got off stage, he's like, first time? I was like, yeah. He's like, tell you what, try it 5 times. If you're still bombing, go join a band. So, and honestly, I don't know of better advice. Yeah, I don't know better advice. So it put this, like, countdown on it, so that The second time, I went back the next week, ate shit again, and then really had to sit down and like figure out like what are they doing that I'm not, and figured out how to front load a set instead of back loading it. And it was then that I developed like the 10-second rule, especially if you're the only white guy in the room. It's like you've got 10 seconds or less for this crowd to like you. Yeah.
And for those of you listening, it's an imperative rule. It's something that most comics live by, where it's like, especially in the Northeast, what I'm learning is in the South, where I came up, it was a lot of storytelling and like, let's go on an adventure together kind of a thing. And then when I moved to New York, it's like pop, 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 pop. Like you got to go.
The New York rhythm's very different.
Yeah. And that's something, because I remember the first time I basically did an audition, the booker called me and he goes, so you're more of a storyteller? And I was like, thank you so much. It's taken me a long time to find my voice. I really appreciate that. He goes, that's not a compliment. And I was like, oh!
Hold on, Peepaw.
Who do you think you are, Abe Lincoln? Storytelling over here? And I was like, oh, he's like, New York's different. It's got to be quicker. It's got to be quicker. So you developed that super, because I was 10 years in before anyone told me that. So you got that right in the gate.
But it was only because I started out as the only white guy.
Yeah.
But, okay, so crazy Abe Lincoln fact.
Okay.
So I forget the guy's name, but so Lincoln actually established the Secret Service the day that he was assassinated.
Did not know that.
But not for presidential protection. It wasn't a bodyguard service. It was just for counterfeit money.
Yeah, it was the Treasury.
Yeah. Because there was so many fake notes coming out of the Confederacy. So he only had one bodyguard, and he was like a D.C. sheriff. He was a cop. And that guy was a drunk. And he escorted Abe and Mary to their balcony. The play started. He goes to the bar.
Really?
Downstairs at the Ford Theater.
Yeah.
And some guy sits next to him, and he goes, "Hey, aren't you that actor guy? John Wilkes Booth, isn't it?" He goes, "Yes, sir." He goes, "I want to buy you a drink, Mr. Booth." So
get the fuck out of
swear
here.
to God.
Really?
So he's banging shots back with John Wilkes Booth moments before he fucking blows Lincoln's head off.
That's an insane. And
if there's a greater alcoholic, what are those?
Yeah.
Who?
The spit take?
Who? Oh,
dude,
man.
that is.
I mean,
and I know a lot about Lincoln. The Civil War was my emphasis in my major for American history.
Oh, wow.
And I never knew that story. That's a fascinating story.
History of alcoholic fuck ups. There can't be a better one.
Just buying him shots, giving him the courage, and then he's just like, all right, I'm out of here later.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he stayed at the bar.
Right. I mean, the only thing that would be crazier if some guy was like, yo, I think I sucked off Lee Harvey Oswald in that theater that he was at before he shot Lincoln for some reason.
God, yeah. I did want to ask you, because this is something that I find super interesting, because you started doing comedy. Like you said, you did a lot of like black rooms and stuff when you were coming up. And what was that? Because that's how you came up. Is that just what you knew, or was that like a conscious decision, or was that just where you were?
It was
location-wise?
Philly at the time had either the Laugh House downtown or out in the suburbs, these really shitty rooms called the Comedy Cabarets.
Okay.
And they were all a minimum 45-minute drive. I didn't have a car.
So that's just what it was.
The Laugh House was 15 minutes from my apartment. So
okay.
I was like, well, yeah.
And I think that was because you said this when we were talking about this. I think that was another reason why I thought you were from down south, was because you toured with a lot of big, like a lot of black headliners. And I was just like, yeah, obviously. You were like, no, I just have a lot of black friends. Yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's on me. That's on me 100%. Right. So when did you decide, like, this is what I'm going to do? Was it after the fifth time? Did you start getting traction, or?
I feel like I actually decided before I started.
Okay.
You know, that it was like,
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, this is the thing.
Yeah, this is what I want to do.
When did you get your first, like, sigh of relief, like, okay, I think this is going to work out?
I'll tell you when it happens.
I was just about to say the same thing. It is so funny because you've accomplished way more than I have, but I've accomplished some things. And like when I look back on it and I'm like telling friends, that's why I got all those prints made and stuff, because it's so easy to just be like, I haven't done shit. And then I tell other people like comics up and coming comics back in Florida will be like, oh, that's so cool that you did this, this, and this. And I go, oh, yeah, I have kind of done some cool shit.
Yeah.
But there's still that mentality, almost like an athlete, where it's like, well, if I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse. So it's like I have to just keep pushing forward, because it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I live in New York. I do comedy. We're doing shows tonight. And I'm just like, yeah, I still don't know if it's clicked yet, though.
Yeah. I mean, look, I haven't had a normal real job in the last 15 years.
That's awesome, dude.
You know, like it's just been comedy. There's been thin times, there's been thick times, there's been all kinds of ups and downs, but it's like, yeah, I decided a long time ago that if I had to define the deciding thing was that I hated being 22 at a bar and introducing myself to somebody, and the first thing is like, hey, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, maybe we could network. Like, I would rather kill myself
Dude.
than follow up with you
Yeah.
or go to a Rotary Club.
I say it all the time because I still work at the restaurant, obviously, to subsidize my income. And people sometimes, like, you'll get to talking with a guest, and they'll be like, you seem so bright. Like, what are you doing here? And my knee-jerk reaction is always, well, I moved to New York to do stand-up because there's a lot of people who live their whole lives working a job that they hate, and I found something that I love. So that's what I'm doing, working in a restaurant to subsidize that. And they're always just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that gives me the ick so bad of what are you doing
Yeah.
here? It's like, it's none of your fucking business.
Yeah, I
like
can
it
take
here.
off an entire month if
Yeah.
I wanted to, and I still have a great job when I come back. Can you do that?
I'm a charming son of a bitch.
I'm pretty good at this. I also met Michael Keaton. Have you met Michael Keaton? No, I have. I met Batman.
Former stand-up. Where's the drinking stuff coming?
Let's get into it right now.
I don't understand your little crib notes. How much time do we have left? 4 minutes? Great.
We got plenty of time. When did you first start drinking? That's
Pass.
an
Next question. I'm just gonna get us to the end.
Next question. When did you discover? Was it after you
Over the line.
You can't handle the truth.
Okay, so first drunk was again in Japan
Okay.
at like 13 or 14 after freshman year is in high school.
14, yeah.
First drink was at the Hiroshima Flash. That's the name of their soccer team.
Okay.
Hiroshima Flash.
Like a flash of light in this guy.
Yeah, like a big old flash. So, but very fun.
That's like Chicago Fire. That's the name of their soccer team. And
Right.
you're like, I know Sam Morril has a bit about it, but you're like, really, guys?
Yeah, like the Krakow who? But so we go to this game, and while I was in Japan, it was like it was crazy. They rolled out the red carpet for us in like an embarrassing way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and because it was this like. My township had a sister city, and because we had hosted them especially, it was like a contest of who could do like the most elaborate display of generosity for me and these three other kids.
Okay.
But I became
Yeah, honor.
instant.
It's a big honor system.
Yeah, but I became instant friends with this guy Oli, who was a 23-year-old American frat guy that had just graduated from UNC.
Okay.
And he's like the other kids were all stiffs, and he wanted a drinking buddy. So guess who?
Here we go.
Yeah, and
14 years old.
yeah. So today he would absolutely be accused of being a groomer and all kinds of other stuff. To me, he was a hero.
Yeah, back then that was sick.
Yeah,
My brother's 6 years older than me. I would give anything for his friends to be like, let's hang out.
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Fuck yeah."
So we go to we're in a booth with like the mayor of Hiroshima.
That's
Which is
crazy.
like their fourth biggest city or
Yeah.
some shit. I just made that up, but it's a big city. And we ditch them and go over to the cheap seats, where it's a bunch of Japanese guys in rainbow afro wigs and just cheering "Ole, ole, ole," but it's Japan. So it's just "Ore, ore, ore, ore," shit faced. You know, I had like 2 beers or something, like a couple of like Sapporos or something
Yeah,
like that.
and you're just hammered.
And until the next morning, I was singing "Oh Ray, Oh Ray, Oh Ray" in my head.
Dude.
But then again, like you said, everything's on the honor system. So I'm drinking. I'm drinking with Oli whenever he wants to hang out. But also, there's a vending machine on the street corner in this super rural town that's the equivalent of just like a few blocks away. And I would go out at night, and it was like, half a yen to buy beers. Buy like Kieran's or whatever from this vending machine. I would get a couple of them.
Because they don't
just
do illegal
fucking
stuff over there.
Yeah, no kid would ever do this. So I'm just throwing grenades into like their sewer system, their open sewer system.
Yeah, because I have friends that have been to Japan, and obviously you have the same stories where it's like, you don't walk and eat, you like get out of everyone's way. The subway, like you don't even need to have cops there. Like everyone just kind of polices themselves, and it's very so. Yeah, they would be like, no, why would a kid?
Yeah, dude. One of the sickest things I saw while I was there was that it was monsoon season, and it was like extra heavy this year, and we're in the house. And so their house was connected to the family business, which was a water bottling company. It was spring water.
Okay.
So like the house had spring water. Yeah, like I'm peeing and showering in spring water.
Yeah.
And the pressure of the spring itself, and this is early 90s, was what made the factory belts go around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was this incredible engineering feat. And we're in the house, and it like starts to shake. It's like, holy shit, what is this? And it was because there was a landslide across the way because the monsoon was so heavy that it just wiped out this entire mountainside. And it's like, and you're in a bamboo and paper house.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit. And it just hits this big wall and like falls back through. It falls back into the sewer.
Terrifying.
And while we're watching this like natural disaster, a boat that's owned by the township itself shows up. It's like one of those inflatable like Zodiac or Kodiak?
Zodiac, yeah.
With the workers, which are like little old ladies. It's just blazing through the sewer system as trees and shit wash away. Oto-san, the father, throws a line. They hold on to it. There's a ladder that all these old ladies and shit just climb up and go to work.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the GD sewer system.
God, that never happens here.
Yeah, can you imagine? Like, get the fuck.
Our broiler went out like a month ago, and they like have still not fixed it. And we're like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a month.
Right.
I did want to ask you, because we are running out of time. I did want to ask you about, because you've been sober for a while. So what happened between leaving crew, kind of jumping into like partying and drinking, to then deciding to quit?
Yeah. So when I first started doing comedy, I made best friends with a guy who was becoming a drug dealer.
Okay.
And he got way better at dealing drugs than I did at comedy. I mean, his career took off.
It always happens.
Yeah. And it was just like 5 years of darkness, basically, right? Mm-hmm. But and it took away the money problem, and like, I mean, he basically would give me everything it cost.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he gave me everything it cost or free.
Okay.
And
so it took away the money problem as far as getting drugs.
Right.
Okay. I thought you meant like you were roommates and like you didn't have to pay for anything because his career was taken off.
No. Like, most people can only do so much blow because they only have so much money.
Yeah, 100%.
He took care of that problem.
Got it.
Right. And I was also his best friend. And
that barrier going down is a tough thing.
So I would buy 4 or 5 grams at a time because he would give them to me for $15-20. I would sell 2 or 3 of them, and I'm good.
Yeah.
So that went on for years, basically. And I realized, so I missed Father's Day one year, and I just did a no-call, no-show on Father's Day. Mm-hmm. And when I finally limped home on empty, I have this after-school special moment where my dad's in the car, the radio's off, and he just goes, "Do you have a problem with drugs and alcohol?" I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Do you do cocaine?" I said, "Yes." He's like, "How often are you doing it?" I was like, "Once a week." It's every day.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say.
And he's like, "Once a week? That's a lot." I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Thank God I didn't say the real number.
And he goes, "I think you should move home and try to get better." And for whatever reason, I was honest in that moment, and I said yes. But it was like that thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was that thing of like everywhere I go, there I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from everyday benders or everyday steady state to like only on the weekends, huge benders, and might come home Tuesday. And then it peaked when I had that guy and that circle of friends down to my parents' house, and I lived on a river, and we had a party, and I basically wound up doing every drug that I do in copious amounts of it.
Oh wow!
And it was speed, it was coke, it was Molly, it was mushrooms.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So you moved back in with your parents to try and get better, but you were still using at the time. Okay.
And they were away for this weekend,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it was like speed, coke, Molly, mushrooms on a kayak at 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ.
playing with half sticks of dynamite. And I threw this stick of dynamite and boom, I got stuck in the Matrix. And I had this epiphany about how the laws of motion affect all athletics, especially the sport of rowing. And I could explain everything immediately to you in terms of the laws of motion.
Oh, wow.
And it's all I could talk about. I mean, all I could talk about. And it lasted for like a month and a half.
Are you serious? So
Yeah.
you like snapped.
I had a psychotic break.
Jesus.
It like at first it felt like this gift from God,
Yeah.
right? Because it was like a divine experience. But meanwhile, my parents are coming home, and I'm like, I'm fucking. Like,
you like whiteboarding it on the fridge or
well,
something?
I mean, I was basically just like a stoned ape Newton, like doing shitty experiments and like,
No,
like,
Dad, look.
no,
look.
like, dude, like they literally came home one time and I've got my eye on the ground and I'm bouncing a golf ball. I'm like, look, you'll never see it change directions. You'll never see it. And they're like, okay. And if they weren't super Christian, I for sure should have been locked up. But
Stoned Ape Newton is going to be the title of this episode.
Monkey Newton.
I'm telling you, it doesn't change direction.
Yeah, but it does bounce to the same height every time. So I mean, dude, and it was to the point that I was driving and tripping and thinking about it, and I rear-ended some lady and jump out of the car and proceed to explain to her how there was a transfer from potential energy to kinetic energy, which hit her bumper and created downward directional force, which was met by the Earth's resistance.
And she was probably like, shut the fuck up and give me your insurance information.
I was so weird, and we were like in the middle of nowhere that she was literally like, okay, well, you know what? My husband does body work, so okay.
She was freaked out.
Yeah, she was like, you have a good day. And she just like took her bumper and left.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You crazied your way out of that.
Yeah. And yeah, so I and then it turned desperate then because like I wasn't sleeping, and every time I blinked I saw this like infinity symbol shit, so I was just trying not to blink for a month and a half.
Jesus.
And finally got down. I wound up like crying my eyes out and got down on my knees and begged God to make it stop. And first time in my life ever that I actually prayed, but just like begged God to make this shit stop. And I woke up the next day and it was over.
Wow.
Yeah. And part of that whole thing was like a deal that I'll quit for a month.
Yeah.
And in that month that I maybe made it like 2 weeks before I like smoked a little bit of weed, but I went like a month without drinking. But anybody within earshot, I was telling how sober I was, sober tortured genius. But
Oh yeah.
In that month, and I had taken off like a year at this point from stand up, and in that month, I made a comeback to it for the Phillies Funniest contest and this other contest, and I wound up winning the other contest, not the Phillies Funniest, and that sent me to Vegas. While I was in Vegas, that guy is sitting on his couch the day before, or like day after Thanksgiving, and knock at the door. DEA comes through. And
this is your best friend.
Yeah, and catches him with a ton of shit. Right? And,
oh my God.
Yeah, and for the grace of God, I would have been on his couch
with him. Yeah, 100%.
I was on his couch every day for over 4 years.
Wow.
Right. So then I come home from Vegas and I'm freaked out by that. And it was 2 months before I quit drinking, but like the term king alcohol now become rapacious creditor, I really understand, because it was the first time that I was drinking without any access to drugs, and I was just drinking and it started blacking out every single time, and it was like it was like I was losing time from that day before I started drinking.
Yeah.
And the last time I drank, it was nothing special. I was just at a bar and spent all my money, and I was with some guy who I didn't actually like, and
you were like
blah blah. This guy's an asshole, and then I wound up buying him drinks too. Woke up the next day at my ex-girlfriend's apartment, which was very far from where I was drinking. No recollection of how I got there.
Yeah.
And the first thing she said was, "Hey, that wrestling match in the kitchen was all your fault." I was like, "Huh?" Go downstairs and her kitchen's like destroyed.
Oh man. And you were just like,
yeah. So I decided I was going to stop drinking for 5 days, and that was so hard. Like day one was so hard that I realized like I got a problem. I got to try to like get some help. So went to the place in the beginning of the phone book, and 5 days turned into I got sober in chunks. 5 turned into 30, 30 turned into 60, 60 turned into 90, and that was February 1st, 2008.
Dude, congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It is fascinating to me. You're not the first person who's had that same, or what I've learned from my experiences. I'm not as unique as I think I am. But I always thought Last Drunk stories were always like these horrific events, because mine was.
Yeah.
And it's just not like I've had 4 or 5 people on that we both know that are sober in comedy in New York, and all of them had a similar story to yours, where it's like, it wasn't like this massive thing. I just realized kind of like, fucking, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Kind of it was like a slow kind of divulging into madness.
It was entirely unremarkable.
Yeah. And I was always like, oh, I thought we all did the thing where we wake up in the hospital and they're like, you should be dead. And we're like, oh, that's crazy. And they're like, no, asshole.
Right.
Not all of us.
Yeah, I mean,
some of us are responsible enough to be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
No, I wish it was a better story. I wish I woke up, chained to a bed or something. But
dude, it's not fun.
Yeah.
But that is the reason why I love it.
And I do wish I was chained to a bed face up.
Hey-o.
That's a different story.
You know what I mean? Come on, we all flip over the menu. If you've seen AKA Charlie Sheen, you know what I'm talking about. Talking to you, Bill. But dude, that's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, dude. Likewise.
This was fun. Plug everything one more time before we get out of here.
My stuff on my social media is Richie Does Comedy, and check out richieredding.com, which this now gives me reason to have up in time.
Oh.
So I appreciate that. And you can see my weird consulting business and how I help managers, leaders, and healthcare workers to connect with people.
Beautiful. That's so interesting, because earlier you were like, if someone asks me to go to a mixer, I'm going to kill myself. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening at Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. By the time you were listening to this, Denver was awesome. We had a great time in Denver. Check me out. I'll be in Los Angeles in November, so come check out that. We'll talk to y'all next week. Boom.
All right.
Dude, that was great.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for coming on, man.